Red Bull just got caught using a hidden trick that could be worth almost half a second per lap. A system so powerful, it spread to 7 teams in just a few races. And now, the FIA is ready to kill it. We're talking about a loophole that turns hot exhaust gases into pure downforce, adding up to 4/10 every single lap. That's not an upgrade. That's a game breaker. And if this ban goes through, the fastest cars on the grid could suddenly lose their biggest weapon overnight. So the real question is no longer what flick tail mode is. It's who just lost the most, and who's about to take over because of it. To understand why this is causing so much tension inside Formula 1, you have to look at what this system actually was, because on the surface, it didn't look illegal at all. It looked like a clever interpretation. Something subtle. Almost invisible. It all starts with the exhaust. A component that, according to the regulations, was never meant to influence performance. Its role was simple: expel hot gases from the engine, nothing more. No aerodynamic gain. No performance advantage. Just a functional part of the car. But that's where everything changed. Because Ferrari found something in the wording of the rules that no one else noticed at first. The exhaust could act as a support structure. And the rules never clearly defined how that structure had to be shaped. That was the gap. And in Formula 1, a small gap in the rules can become a massive advantage on track. So instead of treating the exhaust like a simple outlet, Ferrari turned it into a tool. Hot gases leaving the engine at extreme temperatures, moving at incredible speed, were no longer just escaping into the air. They were being directed. Carefully. Precisely. Toward the most sensitive aerodynamic areas of the car, the rear wing and the diffuser. And when that happens, something very specific occurs. The airflow accelerates. The pressure underneath the car drops. And the car generates more downforce, without needing bigger wings or more drag. More grip through corners. More stability at high speed. More performance, without the usual trade-offs. And that's what made this so powerful. Because in Formula 1, gaining downforce without increasing drag is one of the hardest things to achieve. And suddenly, this system was doing exactly that. Quietly. Almost invisibly. And the numbers behind it were impossible to ignore. Between 4 and 5/10 of a second per lap. That's not a small gain. That's the difference between fighting for points and fighting for wins. And the moment other teams realized what was happening, the reaction was immediate. Because this wasn't something you could ignore. It spread across the grid faster than almost any innovation in recent years. From 1 team to 7 in just a few races. Mercedes, McLaren, Red Bull. All of them built their own versions. All of them chasing the same hidden advantage. And Red Bull, in particular, integrated it into a much larger upgrade package. A package that transformed their performance almost instantly. Close to a full second gain compared to earlier races. But here's where the story starts to shift. Because when something spreads that quickly and delivers that much performance, it stops being just innovation. It becomes a problem. Not because it's fast, but because of what it represents. Because this wasn't just improving the car. It was redefining the limits of the rules. Turning a passive component into an active aerodynamic device. And that's where the FIA started to look closer. Not at the speed. At the intention behind it. Because if one interpretation like this is allowed, where does it stop? How far can teams push components that were never meant to create performance? And more importantly, how much money will they spend trying to do it better than everyone else? Because this kind of concept doesn't stay simple. It evolves. More complex designs. More extreme materials. More testing. More development. And that leads to something the FIA is trying to control more than anything else. Cost. A development race in one small area of the car that could spiral out of control. But that wasn't the only issue. Because this system had a side effect, one that connects directly to a much bigger problem in Formula 1 right now. More downforce means more drag. More drag means more energy required on the straights. And more energy usage means the battery drains faster. Which brings back the same issue teams are already struggling with. Clipping. Power disappearing when you need it most. So suddenly, this wasn't just a clever trick. It was making an existing problem even worse. And that's when the situation changed completely. Because now, the FIA wasn't just looking at performance. They were looking at the impact on the entire system. And that's what pushed this from innovation to something that might have to be removed. But here's where it gets complicated. Because banning it isn't simple. Not in the middle of a season. Not without a clear safety reason. And this isn't officially a safety issue. Which means the FIA can't just eliminate it overnight. They need agreement. They need a vote. And that's where the real battle begins. Because the teams already using it have everything to lose. They've invested time, money, development, performance, and now they're being asked to give it up. That's not just a technical decision. That's a political one. And in Formula One, those are the most intense battles of all. Because no team wants to lose an advantage like this. Not willingly. Not without a fight. And that's exactly why this story is far from over. But here's where everything explodes, because the moment this turns into a vote, the entire paddock splits in two. On one side, the teams that already have the system. 7 of them. Teams that invested heavily, developed it quickly, and are now extracting massive performance from it. For them, the answer is obvious. Keep it. Protect it. Because removing it doesn't just slow them down, it erases weeks of development, millions in investment, and a competitive edge they fought hard to build. But on the other side, the teams that didn't get there in time, or couldn't make it work, or simply chose a different development path. For them, this isn't innovation. It's an imbalance. A loophole that rewards interpretation over intention. And now, they want it gone. Immediately. That's where the tension turns into conflict. Because this isn't just about performance anymore. It's about fairness. About whether Formula One allows these kinds of interpretations to define the grid, or steps in before it goes too far. And the problem is, both sides have a point. Because technically, this system wasn't illegal when it was created. The rules didn't forbid it. The FIA allowed it. Teams built around it. But now, the same system is being questioned. Not because it broke the rules, but because it might have gone beyond what the rules were meant to allow. And that's a very dangerous line in Formula One. Because once you start judging intent instead of wording, everything becomes uncertain. Every innovation becomes risky. Every idea could be the next one to be removed. And that's exactly what teams fear the most. Not losing performance. Losing stability. Because in Formula One, you don't just build a car for today. You build a concept. A direction. Something that evolves race after race. And when that direction suddenly becomes illegal, you don't just lose speed. You lose time. Weeks. Months. Sometimes an entire season. And that's why this decision feels so explosive. Because if the ban is confirmed, the impact won't be equal. Some teams will lose a small gain. Others will lose a fundamental part of their car. And Red Bull sits right in the middle of that storm. Because their recent performance jump is directly linked to this concept. A gain close to a full second compared to earlier races, with a significant portion coming from this exact system. Remove it, and that gain doesn't just shrink. It changes the entire balance of the car. The way it generates downforce. The way it behaves in corners. The way it competes against its rivals. And suddenly, the fastest car might not be the fastest anymore. But here's the part nobody is saying out loud. Even if the FIA bans this system, the idea behind it doesn't disappear. Because what Ferrari discovered, what every team copied, is not just a trick. It's a concept. A new way of thinking about airflow. About how to extract performance from areas that were never meant to provide it. And in Formula One, once a concept is discovered, it evolves. It adapts. It comes back, in a different form. Hidden. Refined. More difficult to detect. So even if flick tail mode disappears, something else will replace it. Something just as clever. Just as controversial. And maybe even more powerful. And that's what makes this moment so important. Because this isn't just about banning one system. It's about where the FIA draws the line. How far teams are allowed to push the rules. And what kind of innovation Formula One wants to encourage or stop. Because every decision like this sends a message. And teams are already listening. Already adapting. Already thinking about what comes next. Which leads to one final question, the one that defines everything. If this advantage disappears overnight, who is ready to take control the moment it does? And this is where everything finally comes together, because the real impact of this ban isn't just about losing performance. It's about what happens the moment that performance disappears. Because if this system is removed, the cars don't just get slower. They become different. Fundamentally different. The rear of the car loses a source of downforce that wasn't supposed to exist in the first place. Which means teams have to find that grip somewhere else. Through bigger wings. Through floor changes. Through mechanical balance. And every one of those solutions comes with a cost. More drag. Less efficiency. More tire degradation. Compromises everywhere. And that's where the balance starts to shift. Because not every team will recover the same way. Some will adapt quickly. They'll redesign, recalibrate, and regain most of what they lost. But others will struggle. Because their entire concept relied on this hidden advantage. Take it away, and suddenly the car doesn't behave the same. Corner entry changes. Rear stability drops. confidence disappears. And in Formula One, confidence is performance. But here's where the situation becomes even more critical. Because this isn't happening in isolation. This ban connects directly to everything else the FIA is trying to control. Energy management, clipping, aerodynamic limits, the entire direction of the sport. Because more downforce from systems like this increases drag. More drag increases energy usage. And that feeds directly into the problems Formula One is already fighting to solve. So removing this system isn't just about fairness. It's about control. Bringing the cars back within predictable limits. But in doing that, the FIA may have just created an opportunity. Because when one area of performance disappears, teams don't stop. They redirect. They search for gain somewhere else. And that's when the next innovation appears. Quietly, unexpectedly, and often even more powerful. Because the best engineers in the world don't accept limitations. They work around them. So while everyone is focused on what's being banned, some teams are already working on what comes next. A new concept. A new loophole. A new advantage hidden in plain sight. And that's the cycle of Formula One. One idea rises. Everyone copies it. The FIA steps in. And something even smarter replaces it. But here's the final piece, the one that defines everything. Timing. Because if this ban happens now, mid-development, mid-season, the teams that react first gain everything. They redesign faster. They adapt quicker. They recover performance before anyone else. And that's how championships are decided. Not just by speed, but by reaction. By who understands the change first, and executes it better than everyone else. So when you look at this decision, it's not just about Red Bull. It's not just about Ferrari. It's about the entire grid being forced into a new direction. At the same time, under pressure, with no guarantee of success. And that's what makes this moment so powerful. Because the team that loses the most today might not be the one that suffers in the long run. And the team that looks stable right now might be the one about to fall behind. So the real answer, the one everything has been building toward, is this. This ban doesn't decide who was right. It decides who adapts the fastest. Because in Formula One, the strongest team isn't the one with the best idea. It's the one that survives when that idea disappears. And right now, that survival race has already begun.